again, what I was getting to about Daryl Bevell is honestly, if these next 3 games against Tennessee, shoot, if we're playing Tennessee and we have Chase Daniels in at quarterback and we're still like within one score, we don't get blown out and stuff, and then we go into Tampa Bay and again make it a game in Tampa Bay, again, as long as we actually are like playing well and the team is buying into Bevel, I don't see why you guys wouldn't want Bevel as the head coach. He got you know what you're getting from him because you've seen him for 5 games.
Again, I'm not for or opposed Daryl Bevell at this moment. Like you said, I want to see how the rest of the season plays out. I want to see how the team still buys in. Yes, through two games, you can tell a huge difference in the play calling and the way the players are reacting on the field. But I'm just not sold. I might consider keeping him as an offensive coordinator. Again, if he can keep this free playing style that he has and then maybe bring in another head coach. And especially, again, if we're going for, which it seems like we're going to, another defensive minded head coach, you might want to keep Daryl Bevell in as that offensive coordinator who can, scheme up some good plays and stuff like that. But I'm not for or against him as the head coach as of right now. We'll let the season play out and see how it goes from there. Speaking of head coach candidates, the Lions also did interview a few people for their GM vacancy. 3 of them were internal candidates, and I see a lot of people complaining, which understandably so. Why would you want to bring someone in who was under Bob Quinn? We saw it with Martin Mayhew under Matt Millen. We just went down the hall to the next office, pulled him in and said, you're GM. And again, Martin Mayhew wasn't the worst GM, but he definitely was not the best. You could say the same thing for Bob Quinn. He wasn't the worst, but he absolutely was not the best. But again, as Michael Lombardi said on the Pat McAfee show, that it's probably just good to do your research and interview those internal candidates to see where their head's at, where they think the organization is, where it stands as of right now, what they thought is different now from Bob Quinn to all this stuff. So he's just kind of getting more of an insight into the actual organization. So maybe he wasn't necessarily interviewing for the position, but just to get more intel on the actual inside of the organization. And one other candidate they interviewed is Rick Smith, who I'm not sure exactly what his position is. I know I think he still has ties to the Houston Texans. He was their general manager for a long time before taking a leave of absence in, I think, 2018. And again, I'm not sure if he still has affiliations with the team or if he's not with them anymore. I'm not 100% sure. But to be honest, at first glance, I would not be happy if we signed Rick Smith. Yeah, again, he's had a few good draft picks, whether it's J.J. Watt, Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, even Glover Quinn back in the day. But those are just far and few in between. If you look at all of his draft classes, his first rounds were kind of good, but after that, he barely ever had anyone who actually made the team or had a big impact on the team, or is even still in the league at this point. And same thing with free agents. He's the same guy who signed Brock Osweiler to a $72 million contract. Is that the guy you want to bring in to try and judge quarterback talent, especially if we're possibly getting rid of Stafford and all this stuff? So I don't know. Yeah, like I said, he did draft Deshaun Watson, but that was with he was 7th overall or something like that, top 10 pick. Just regarding Rick Smith, from what I've seen from his history, I personally do not want him. What do you think about him, Dalton?
I don't know. It's so hard to sit here and be like, I want this guy, because we got let down with the Patricia Bob Quinn thing, and that's like, we were all told that it was gonna be the next step. We were gonna go and it just didn't happen.
The
so now it's like, I don't want to sit here and like, oh, this guy's the right guy for the job, and then he comes in and just absolutely sucks and is terrible, and then in 3 years down the road, we're sitting here doing the same conversation again. Who should be the next Lions GM?
See, that's the thing. We're trying to build for longevity, and Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia came here and tried to build the Patriot way. And the Patriot way, as we've mentioned before, doesn't seem to be working. Even they have Cam Newton and Bill Belichick over there. Patriots, they're okay. They're middle of the pack, but they're still not doing good. They're not the normal Patriots, and they don't seem... I know they're missing a lot of people who opted out this year and blah, blah, blah. Maybe we'll see what happens next year if they get all of their defensive players back. But still, it just doesn't seem like the Patriot way even works for the Patriots without Tom Brady and Bill Belichick there together. The Patriot way, and as we just mentioned before, a lot of the Bill Belichick disciples that go out do not... If they try to replicate the Patriot way, it does not work. We've just mentioned Brian Flores and Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, who they're both doing it their own way. They're doing it their own coaching style instead of trying to build the Patriot way. I think I've thrown this out on a previous podcast. I might have been the one that got scrapped. I really like Ed Dodds from the Colts. The Colts are an organization that have built from within. They've drafted really well. and I think he's the assistant general manager right now to Chris Ballard.
There's also reports that the Lions, along with other teams that are searching for a GM, also have looked into the Buffalo Bills assistant GM. I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember his name, but that's somebody to look out for, maybe get an interview. They're another team that have done good drafting and building in-house, obviously going out and trading for Stephon Diggs, and they do sign some good free agents, but they're a team that has been extending, and now this season are one of the top teams in the AFC that honestly I could see them making a deep run into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, until they run into the Chiefs. But yes, the Bills are really good. Their offense seems to be good. When Josh Allen was drafted, I honestly didn't think much of him. I thought he was just a strong arm who'd only be in the league for a few years, but he seems to have developed accuracy. That was one of his critiques when he came out of college, was he could just throw it deep, but he didn't have the accuracy. And over the course of his short career so far, he has definitely gotten that accuracy. You can tell he's gotten a lot better with those deep balls and everything. Like, I'm excited. Like you said, I definitely think the Bills assistant GM would be another person who could help us out. I don't remember, but yeah, those are two, again, the Colts and the Bills, who are two AFC teams that are both doing really well, and as we just mentioned, have built from the inside, have drafted well, have brought in good free agents, and haven't killed themselves with bad contracts to where they can continue to build in the future.
And also two GMs that, oh, our team's this, we need certain pieces. All right, I'm going to go out and make a trade for those certain pieces. The Colts with DeForest Buckner. They needed a defensive lineman. The 49ers didn't want to pay him. Colts said, all right, here you go. You got DeForest Buckner. Vikings wanted to move on from Diggs. Diggs didn't really want to be in Minnesota. Bills are like, hey, we need a wide receiver. We need Josh Allen to have a wide receiver. Here you go, Minnesota.
Exactly. Those are two possible candidates that, but as you said, this is just us. We're two talking heads on the internet. We don't know what we're talking about. Otherwise, we would be employed
I was
by
going to say, I am going to fully trust in Sheila Ford and Rod Woods because they actually seem to be doing a lot of research, and they're doing a lot to make sure this next coach and everything brings winning football to Detroit, and that's what Sheila Ford wants. So I'm trusting in Sheila Ford this time and seeing what she brings in and who she brings in.
Yes,
and then if they fail, then maybe next time I'm not too trusting in her. But as of right now, she got rid of Patricia and Bob Quinn, which honestly I didn't really think she'd fire Bob Quinn. I thought she was just gonna fire Patricia, but she was like, nope, both of them completely gone. So she gained my respect. I'm going to trust her for now, and I'm going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, that's one other point I'd like to bring up. A lot of people are frustrated in the fact that the Lions are not using an outside firm to be searching for their head coach candidate. But honestly, again, this is coming from pretty off the Pat McAfee show. He brought up a good point, and it's probably better if you're running a $1 billion organization and you don't know who you want to run your organization. That just looks terrible on you. And also, why would you go out and hire a firm that is also being hired by your competitors and your opponents to look for another GM candidate as well? What happens if one of your opponents just slips a little bit more money to that firm? And again, I don't know how these search firms work. It's just weird that if you're running a $1 billion organization, which all NFL teams make well over $1 billion, if you're running that type of company, then you need to know who you want. And that is something that I think is good. Even though Rod Wood has said that he doesn't know much about football himself, I do think it's better that Sheila Ford and Rod Wood are going out to get the people that they want and they think will build the organization up how they want, instead of hiring a search firm to do it. But that's just my opinion. I know some people would rather them hire a search firm.